Today is a NEWEL day. It's also a new day, but for me, it's a NEWEL day. Every flight is different, even if you're taking the same flight more than once. And I'm not talking about the in-flight service or cabin temperature, I'm talking about our routing. While I fly on a particular route quite often, sometimes things change and we don't take the same path. Even LaGuardia Airport is changing. The roadways meander around the new construction, and the old D terminal is hidden behind a brand new head house where my ride drops me off. It's a short walk around the new building before I enter the old D terminal and head on over to the new G gates, which will lead me to my flight to NEWEL. Well, hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today is a NEWEL day because I'll be flying to an initial fix of NEWEL today after departure. I haven't brought that fix to my channel yet, so I'm going to bring you along with me to see what it's like. I love the new G gates at LaGuardia, and my favorite feature are the large windows. There is a lot of natural light here and some fantastic views. Today, LaGuardia is using the Park Visual Runway 31 approach, and this concourse allows for a great view of arriving aircraft making a series of left turns over Flushing Meadows Corona Park before they line up with the runway. And as I watch a gorgeous G6 land, the pilot of my inbound flight, Delta 958 from Detroit, is about to call the tower for landing clearance.
LaGuardia Tower, afternoon, Delta 958 on the Park Visual 31.
Delta 958, LaGuardia Tower, number 3, following traffic 3.5 miles ahead, wind 01020, gust 30, runway 31, clear to land, travel depart and hold, runway 4, gain a loss of 10 knots, quarter on final by number.
Copy all, runway 31, clear to land, Delta 958.
And here it is, Delta 958 flying one of the more exciting approaches at LaGuardia. It's a windy day and the pilot was given a lot of information and is cleared to land. It was a quick and easy taxi to the gate today. This aircraft was delivered to Northwest Airlines in 1993, and it was absorbed into Delta in 1999. The ground crew was doing an excellent job to turn this aircraft around for my flight. When you are in the D terminal, I always recommend that you take an opportunity to walk down to the G gates, even if your flight is not out of the G gates. It's a beautiful concourse, and you have some great views of aircraft that are landing. Today, they're landing on runway 31, so the views are spectacular. Now, I've got a destination of Minneapolis, St. Paul today. Normally, flights going up to Minneapolis, St. Paul depart to the northwest. They use the departure fix of Gale. But today, there's some weather along the way, so we'll be actually taking off, turning to the left, and proceeding towards NEWEL, which is a fix that can be used alternatively for Gale. That's going to provide some great views for those that are sitting on the left-hand side of the airplane, and of course, I am. I can't wait to go flying. Today, I'm expecting a little chop in the air as it's a windy day. Here are some flags waving in the wind near the airport as I drove into LaGuardia today. Not only is it windy, but the winds are coming from the north, favoring runway 4 for departures today, and we'll fly a climb out called the BRONX CLIMB. Yes, we'll be flying right over the Bronx on departure today. I could probably spend hours here, but I do have an A320 to board. Here we go. Welcome aboard the Delta A320. Even with the newer aircraft out there, these old A320s with new interiors are just delightful on the inside. I'm about to get seated in seat 1A. This has become a routine for me, but what's not routine will be our climb out on the BRONX CLIMB, flying to NEWEL. How exciting. My eyes are fixed on the outside. I like row 1 since no one can recline their seat in front of me, and I got lucky that the window wasn't terribly scratched by the jet bridge. The forward boarding door is now closed and the jet bridge is being moved away from the aircraft so we can become unattached to the terminal building. It's always a great feeling to watch this while seated on the left side of the plane, especially when you're seeing it up close from the first row. We had to wait for a CRJ 900 to push back behind us from gate 98 before we could be cleared by ramp control to push back, but that only took a minute or two. The ground crew soon went into position, and while that was happening, the pleasant Atlanta-based flight attendants welcomed us on board and showed us the safety video.
My name is E. I will be your flight leader today. I am assisted by 3 of Atlanta's Airbus flight attendants in the main cabin. At Delta, your safety as well as the crew safety is our #1 priority. In just a few seconds, your video monitors will display the safety features of our aircraft today. If your monitor is not working, please let a flight attendant know.
Consistency and resilience. The determination to stay the course until we reach our destination.
With the CRJ 900 clear of the area behind us, we push back onto the new ramp. Once all of the construction is completed, this will be an alley between another new concourse with lots of ramp space. The controller monitors our pushback as the tug driver does all the work. And there are always ground crew members standing around our airplane ensuring that we're clear of all obstructions. Safety is a priority. Once the tug was removed from the aircraft, our 2 CFM engines were started, and we let the ground controller in the control tower know that we had listened to the latest airport information and that we were ready to taxi.
Ground Delta 802, 16 Alpha with Sierra.
Delta, was it 802?
Affirm.
Okay, I have you in sequence, thanks for Sierra.
We waited quite a bit, so the pilot came back asking for an update.
What you got for Delta 802?
Delta 802, you can taxi Alpha, short of Lima, expect 4.
Alpha short of Lima, expect 4, Delta 0802.
And so we began our taxi to runway 4. We were told to take taxiway Alpha and to hold short of taxiway Lima. We had waited about 5 minutes before we started our taxi to the runway after calling ground control. LaGuardia Airport is back to the busy days after a long slump in traffic due to the pandemic. I had gotten used to the short taxi times, but there is more traffic now. As we turned onto taxiway Alpha, you can see a plane departing on runway 4, our departure runway. LaGuardia Ground Control saw that there was no need for us to hold short of taxiway Lima, so we were asked to continue on to runway 4.
Delta 802, you'll continue Alpha Echo Bravo, and then once you're on Bravo, monitor tower.
Alpha Echo Bravo, then on Bravo, monitor tower, Delta 802.
Filming was a little tough this afternoon because I had the sun in my eyes, but I tried to do my best by holding the camera and moving it for the least amount of glare. It was also hard to look out, but I didn't let the sun stop me. It was nice to get the clearance to proceed directly along the path to runway 4 via taxiways Alpha, Echo, and Bravo, but as we got closer to the runway, we did have to wait in a queue. But for now, I'm taking in the sights of Terminal B, LaGuardia's newest and now fully completed terminal. This video was filmed just a few days before Terminal B was 100% completed, and I am sad to say that on this trip, I caught my very last glimpse of the base of the old and iconic original control tower. A few days later, this structure was completely demolished. My final sight of the old tower really saddened me, but I took comfort in knowing that I was about to fly the BRONX CLIMB. The BRONX CLIMB is a published departure procedure that calls for us to climb on a heading of 44 degrees after takeoff, then at 500 feet, turn left to a heading of 360 or north. This puts us right over the middle of the Bronx as we make our initial climb out off of runway 4. We spent some time on taxiway Alpha waiting for other aircraft to take off in front of us. All departures are sequenced between arrivals landing on the intersecting runway 31. Sometimes the wait can be very long, but it was just moderate for us today. What I like about waiting on taxiway Alpha is that you can see aircraft that are on the downwind leg to runway 31 on the curvy park visual approach. Oh, and that tower that you see there, that's an observation tower for students at Vaughn College, which is located on the other side of the Grand Central Parkway. Let's get clearance from the control tower to line up on the runway.
802 LaGuardia Tower, runway 4, line up point, top plane in 31.
Delta 802, line up and wait, runway 4.
We are now going to line up and wait on the runway as we get ready to fly the BRONX CLIMB. Because it's a published climb, we won't be instructed by the controller to make the left turn at 500 feet, but we'll do it on our own. Our turn will put us in the best position for the next controller to give us radar vectors to NEWEL, which is located in Pennsylvania, just west of the New Jersey border. Remember, we're taking a southern route to Minneapolis today. Now, as an arriving aircraft is told to clear runway 31 on taxiway Tango before the intersection of runway 4, we are given clearance for takeoff.
The 363, left Tango, left Bravo, ground point 7.
Good day.
Delta 8024, clear takeoff is 01023.
Runway 4 clear takeoff, Delta 802.
As we become airborne, the controller hands us off to the New York departure controller.
Delta 802, contact departure.
802 switching.
But before we contact the departure controller, upon reaching 500 feet, we start our left turn to a heading of 360 to fly the BRONX CLIMB. We need to climb to 5,000 feet. This will take us right up the middle of the Bronx. We're turning left 44 degrees over the East River as we climb out of the airspace of the LaGuardia controller.
Departure Delta 802, 1,200, climbing to 5,000.
Delta 802, New York departure, radar contact.
We're advised that we're visible on the departure controller's radar and we can see Manhattan off the left side of the plane. Unfortunately, I've got the sun on my side of the plane, so it's difficult to capture everything perfectly this afternoon. Our route takes us roughly over the Bronx River Parkway towards Bronx Park. In my video called LaGuardia Airport's Pelham Climb, we flew straight out before making a left turn to the northwest towards Gale, but NEWEL is to the west, and the early left turn to north is the first step in getting us there. Typically, the departure controller would clear us to a higher altitude than the published altitude of 5,000 feet, but there was another aircraft in the vicinity, a flight from Newark headed towards the northeast, so we had to restrict our climb to 5,000 feet. We've just become clear of this aircraft, and the controller now tells us to climb to 15,000 feet.
Step out 802, climb maintain 15,000.
Delta 802, climb 15,000.
As we climb in the afternoon sun, we see the western portion of the Bronx and the northern portion of Manhattan, which is separated from the Bronx by the Harlem River, and on the other side of Manhattan is the much wider Hudson River. Flying visually up and down the Hudson River are small aircraft that are restricted in their altitudes. We've climbed high enough to be clear of these aircraft. This is very busy airspace and everything is very well coordinated. In a few moments, we'll be leaving New York City and entering the state of New Jersey. As we continue along, the controller sees that the general direction of NEWEL, the airspace to the west, is now clear, so he issues us a left turn to a heading of 270 degrees.
Delta 802, turn left heading 270.
Left 270, Delta 802.
This left turn to 270 degrees is west, and it points us in the general direction of NEWEL. This controller himself will not provide clearance for us to proceed directly to NEWEL. That will be the job of the next controller. Two separate departure controllers on two separate radio frequencies handle our flight before we're handed off to the high-altitude center controller. Now that we've advanced into the second departure controller's airspace, we're told to change radio frequencies.
Delta 802, contact departure 120.85.
12085, Delta 802.
That's it for air traffic control for the remainder of this video. We'll be cleared to NEWEL soon. Specifically, NEWEL is located in North Bangor, Pennsylvania. This is a southern route to Minneapolis today due to weather to the north, so after Pennsylvania, we'll start working our way northwest towards Minneapolis. A look behind the aircraft affords a much better lit view of New York City. Remember that if you're not subscribed to my channel, you're missing out on one of the most interesting and inspiring aviation channels out there, so consider subscribing so you don't miss my next video. As we continue en route under the control of the Enroute traffic control centers, you can see our routing on the map at my seat after flying over NEWEL in Pennsylvania. This is not a typical route from LaGuardia to Minneapolis, but today it is the safest route. We'd normally fly up towards Buffalo, New York and into Canada before re-entering the USA and Michigan, but bad weather along this route kept us to the south today. Even though the really rough weather was to the north, clouds covered much of our route today, so there was not a lot to see out the window. I, of course, kept my window shade open just in case. You all know that flying for me is all about the window seat. Even though I didn't catch a lot to see en route, I was so happy that I was able to watch the sunset from up here. It was a glorious sight. Sunset, of course, means that the landing is going to be in the dark, and shortly after sunset, we followed the arrival procedure to the MSP airport. Here's the airport now, barely visible in the weather conditions. We are on a downwind leg to runway 12 left, talking to Minneapolis approach control, and we'll go past the city, then turn back around via a left turn to line up for the runway 12 left on the ILS approach. It's now the end of a NEWEL day. I hope you enjoyed the journey from a windy New York to a snowy Minnesota, and I hope you learned a bit on how an airplane gets from point A to point B with the help of routes and air traffic control. I'm about to get off this A320 into the terminal building at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. All right, well, I've arrived here at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. I had a great flight on that Airbus A320. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for subscribing if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing by hitting on that subscribe button below. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you again in another video very soon.